Let me give you like one of my first pieces. It was heavy static, multisyllabic mathematics. My mind's heavy as havoc rolled into town like my dad's Chevy. Ready and steady just like the hills in Beverly. Smooth like Nottingham, suit to tell fools the truth. You too can flow so smooth like birds in the sky blue. And watch how the breeze rustles through when hustlers muscle through. Crews who move in twos and glue smooth verses in lieu of blasting in churches, blasting in hearses, and spew smooth venom like metaphorical serpents. Hoped it was coated with ulterior motives, and you all learned for the first time that I was explosive, yet we got nothing. No open doors and golden stores, no chains glow. Nobody knows the torment of the world, no. Only pros and liquor stores spending doors on bottles of mold. So take me to a place of player pros where we capsize foes and hope our bros stand till the sun's eyes comes to a close. You know, one of the things I've been thinking about when I joined this project was how my art relates to feminism or women, and I realized hip hop is the most misogynistic, any negative male term you could think of art form. And it's just something I never thought about when I was growing up, because when you're a kid from Queens, it's just what you just rap, that's just what you do, and there's no thinking about it. And my early works kind of really reflect this kind of search for like my own masculinity. However, when I first went to the New Eurekan in the Lower East Side, I realized that stuff just wouldn't fly because the audience was much more conscious, and very keen to these types of things. And so I wrote my first, what I consider my first real spoken word art piece, which transitioned from the pure hip hop form into spoken word. I'll perform that right now, so I'm gonna put this down. Pain and death go together like love and heartache. Lives change, prisons filled, wealthy recalled, pocket change seems strange. I grew up in what I call like a bipolar household. At one point in time, it was like the Huxtable family. If you guys watch Bill Cosby. Souls never taken healthy, uncertain. And there was a lot of things that we brought that were completely like hush hush in a place like Calcutta, but you just couldn't do in America. And you know, my father was somewhat patriarchal, and my mother would fight back, but they would do so in a physical manner, and it just wasn't right for me or my younger brothers to see. And my mom's form of feminism was really just kind of, I don't even know, like no holds barred, but it just seemed too abrasive for me. And a lot of my recent poetry has been dealing with that, because I guess it's something that I wasn't even able to talk about until I came to the strike. They said, who would want to save a race destined for death's fate? But I see the Lord face to face, and if I see, I believe the world cried for help. The sun crashed into me. One final verse out of my mind dispersed. The oil of the Mid-East, the silk of India too. These nations so poor, with these residuals so pure. So I look beyond the facade of this terrible fascist state. Together we light the fire, together we watch it burn. The politicians are cowards, militants only pretend to be stern. But there is a way out, one without rainy days, shouts or clouds. It's a peaceful way to improvise for crime. Preach peace, give alms, even a dime. Let your clouded minds crash into mine, everything will be just fine. It's our time to shine. I started off like researching this whole idea of like, I think as Vivian was talking about, like the object, like the feminine object. And I kept coming across like the same thing, like the perfect female form who was very maternalistic or kind of submissive. And then I realized like the total opposite of that form was always in my culture for a long time. And I don't know, has anyone heard of like Madurga before? She was a deity in Hinduism. And you know, and deity is like the most, that's like the highest form of like objectifying something. But she was the god of war. Oh. And she had 10 arms.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay,
she's the counterpart of some of the other goddesses of war, Western goddesses of war. Yeah, there are, yeah, okay.
Yeah, to explore like her, honestly. In something I've been thinking about collaborating with Alice on, kind of creating like our own like huge life-size deity.
And Alice, I'm curious why you also are interested in this goddess.
Well, actually, I didn't know that the things you wanted to focus around Madurga. I was actually just going in on it because I have this big thing that I wanted to pursue in like religion. I mean, I was just questioning a lot about religion, and so I thought just the idea of building something that resembled like a temple and having like like inside the temple it would have like mirror pieces all around it, so it'd be more of like a self-reflection is what I was like thinking of. But I mean, I was going to talk with Debangshu a little bit more on it.
The two of you would work together on kind of an integrated concept, kind of creating a temple to Madurga, and you can explore all these images of the female as destroyer or as, you know,
Warrior.
or as nurturer, or whatever you get into, okay, or the dark face of the goddess. There's a tremendous amount of information. This is not just a Hindu concept. The dark face of the goddess is, I mean, is worldwide. And so it would open up a huge amount of imagery, poetry, you know, I mean, there's just a lot of material. Okay, but the first step is for you guys to go find out how big a fight you just took.
I guess we didn't really realize that. Like, when we were thinking about it, it just sounded like a nice idea. I'm looking forward to the background search. I look forward to understanding a lot of things about Eastern religions and deities and Eastern religions, and also I'm just looking forward to seeing it come together. I'm also we're planning on having dance lessons at 2 o'clock, 2 to 3 o'clock every day in a little while, because I'm trying to learn ancient Indian movements to go along with the spoken word. And David has gladly said that anyone else can show up, so maybe those will be fun too. Like the whole process?
What happened inside?
Like one, I just closed my eyes. And like, I just let it like be natural to the way like I've learned movements. Like that was where like martial arts to be. Which is just I guess like the natural way of learning movements. And so I just let that take over and just took its form.
Thank you and Alice to do side-by-side installations right here. They didn't want to do such big things. I wanted to give, but the Debangshu wanted, you know, floor space and all that to perform.
You know.
This would be Debangshu and Alice.
And actually, they can divide up the space
However they
between
want. And then this would be David.
The three of them can
Right.
divide up the space
How they want, right. Where's yours, Alice?
Well, why did
okay.
Well, we'll walk you guys through
Walk
this
us
general
through it.
area with no numbers.
So-
Well, this corner right here is
Yeah.
going to be Debangshu's, and mine's going to be facing his. And so from that point, mine's going to be exactly opposite his, and mine will be right here.
And where's David?
David is going to go across this back wall over there, and his is going to go flat across like this.
Well, I'm not so sure you have to literally have a face-off here.
What?
I said, I'm not so sure
If we should
that
be
you're,
facing
no,
each
no,
other.
no, that you literally have to have a face-off.
Okay, Debangshu, are you gonna speak for both you and Alice, or not?
Should I? What would you like?
Well, it depends, if you're collaborating and she's not here, maybe.
Oh, okay, I'll just read Alice's first. Project proposal, Alice. Working in collaboration with Debangshu, we plan on visually representing the opposing views of Eastern and Western religions of Hinduism and Christianity. Debangshu will incorporate a lot of performance art. For myself, for Alice, I plan on delving more deeply into where the belief of Christianity and the faith all stems from within my family. I currently put religion on hold and would like to explore it more with the ongoing efforts of this project.
Are you still doing the same thing you were talking about?
Yeah, I was, and like I remember how you were talking about a lot of religions, like when they create female goddesses, it's like the male fear on the female. So I researched that, and it ends up that with Durga, it wasn't that. Like that's a Western misrepresentation of what it was.
Good.
And it turns out that Durga was first of all bisexual
Oh, that's
and a
interesting.
hermaphrodite.
Oh, wow.
And that represents more like duality. Her importance has no relation to like a man, so they represent her alone.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I thought like I could be doing my movements on top of like
paint poetry like painted on raw ground
Yeah.
and represent this story, like the whole story behind it, like in poetry.
Get your space built.
Get the space.
Get the space built, get it painted,
Okay.
start working on your poetry,
Okay.
start working on your performance for the video. Have you looked, I know you looked at how ugly the video is. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk about that. That's something I wanna raise, okay? Because the video monitors they have are not particularly attractive. And then we'll deal with, because you can repeat the same, you don't have to have, you can
Okay.
repeat it. There's a million ways of doing it. Don't go there. Get your elements, okay?
Yeah, I mean, in that case, then, I mean, the elements are, like, by the end of the month, like you were saying,
Yeah.
it should be done.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it shouldn't be done.
Why isn't Alice here?
I don't know.
Jack, could you email her and ask her why she wasn't
Mhm.
here?
The way our ideas came about, it was very much that we could play off of each other and have like a face-to-face confrontation of like East versus West religions. So I guess it kind of grew apart, and then when we were checking out the spacing and everything, it just wasn't going to work out because Da Vinci sort of needed a room of his own because he was going to have an audience.
Traded teams. I traded from the upstairs space right here with David, Paula, and Alice, and I traded teams kind of to the downstairs space. And one of the main reasons was well, to have some room, I guess, to actually change and be able to do the preparation for the performance, which is pretty time consuming. We would have had to do it downstairs in the bathroom or something like that, and then walk up, and also just to give it more area for people to kind of sit down and relax and enjoy it. Not to be like corny or anything, but in a very quiet way, I think it's really changed me a lot because now I want to do art therapy. Definitely is like one of my professions. Being able to do art and like psychology at the same time, and also just like I never thought of myself as like an artist. I never thought hip hop or spoken word could cross over like that into what's considered like fine art or whatever. And it's turned out beyond my expectations. It's turned out really well, and I just met really some nice friends along the way, and it's made like Vanderbilt seem a lot easier to deal with.